researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Let me remind you something. We want you to join the movement. And what is this movement? This movement is a movement of people who have decided they are not going to be like the guy in the parables who was given a talent and went and buried it under the ground and then came and returned it to the Lord, and he was wondering, why aren't you blessing me? No. We want you to be in the movement of people who know what they have and they say, I can preserve the value of what I have and then watch it grow. Okay? And this is investing the little amount of money that you can spare. Put it aside and put it into the Britam Money Market Fund. Or you can decide, put it into the Britam Smart Yield Fund. The Money Market Fund is medium to short term, short to medium term. And then a longer term period is the Smart Yield. If you have a project, you're thinking, school fees in about 2 years' time, or school fees at the end of this year, or school fees in about 6 months' time, or you're thinking, I've got a project that I wanted to do, I wanted to upgrade something, I wanted to purchase something, I wanted to go into such kind of project, the place that you start saving in is something like this, a money market fund. You open it, and then you can top up as you get more money, and it continues earning and accruing interest. Up to 13.5% for the money market fund, over 14% for the smart yield fund. This is a smart way to invest. This is all courtesy of Britam. How do you get there? Go to ke.britam.com. Then you select Save and Invest. Then you will see unit trusts. Click on unit trust. Under unit trust, you will see several of them. Just select either of these, the money market fund or the smart yield fund. It opens the page. You click on start investing. It asks you basic question: how much do you want to invest? How regularly and often do you want to be topping up? When do you want to get your money out? So what's the tenure that you want to put it in for? And this and so on and so forth. They even ask you just a bit of a personal question: what kind of project are you? What do you have as a plan? You select from a drop-down menu there. It's just basically to help you keep yourself on track with your plans. Put in as little as 1,000 shillings, and you can put as much as you want. But if you put in as little as 1,000 shillings today, and you then screenshot that, you send it to us on a DM, either on Spice FM KE on X or on Facebook. At the end of this show, Edna, our producer, is going to pick one person to win 5,000 shillings. If you'd like to get more information, SMS the word SMART, S-M-A-R-T, to 21778. That is SMART to 21778. Britam. Save with Britam. Now, yesterday we had some conversation here with some young gentlemen, two of them from the University of Nairobi. One was the head of public service, UN Students Association, Michael Soy, and the other one was the Secretary General of the UN Students Association, Ramesh Saxena. They took us through the ordeal that their young comrades are going through, particularly the first years. So we know that there's a new university funding model, and the university funding model is looking at addressing the issues that the universities have been having in terms of receiving funds from the government, and then also looking at making sure that there is equity in access to education. Those people who are extremely vulnerable should get as much support from government to go through university. And those are the ones who get a higher percentage of scholarship, a higher percentage of loan from the Higher Education Loans Board, and they pay the least from out of pocket, going on and so forth. But then there's no clarity on how you qualify for what. And so we said, let us bring the person who's in charge of this story, okay? The CEO of the Universities Fund, Geoffrey Monari, has been here before. He's back. Geoffrey, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for your invitation this morning. I'm glad to be here.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
Karibu tena sana.
Asante sana.
The President Juzi said the day before yesterday, he was in Kabete, And he said, people, can you please explain this thing so that people stop misunderstanding? There's a lot of misunderstanding on the issue of the university and TVET's fund, okay? And the funding model. And I need guys to explain. It's good that you're here. Otherwise, kazi ingeenda. Kazi ingeenda. But Siti, how do you want to welcome Mr. Monari with the day's proverb?
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Burundi. A bird cannot know where the sorghum is ready unless she flies.
A bird cannot know where the sorghum is ready unless she flies. What's your interpretation of this, Monari?
You cannot know where the issues are or where there are good things until you go out there to look for them.
True.
Yes. Good things do not come to you. You have to go out there. Yes.
You have to go get them.
Yes.
So you're just changing the good things come to those who wait.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's that thinking, but this one, it's good things come to those who search.
You search, yeah.
Who wait by searching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a new funding model for universities. Let's just start from the basics. All right. The last time you were here, you told us, yes, in fact, the Presidential Task Force, no, not Task Force, the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform had taken some of your recommendations. They had incorporated them in their report, and it has been adopted by the government. And it was looking at how do we better ensure that our public universities and TVETs are actually able to serve the people as they should. So what is the principle, the funding model?
There are two main aspects of the funding model. Just to take you back, you are right that these proposals came from the Presidential Working Party because when you look at the way the universities have been funded and the funding model that has been in place over the years, it has been in place for the last 34 years. When the government started asking for fees of 16,000, that is the year 1990, until this year. In the year 2016, an adjustment was made when the DUC was introduced, that is the differentiated unit cost, where government was supposed to pay 80%, and then student was supposed to pay 20% from either HELB or the household. However, this model continued and the government was not able to sustain the 80%. This continued to reduce until the last financial year, until the financial year 2023-24, when we were financing at 48%. So something had to be done. When we looked at the numbers, we realized that if we continued in this same trend, then we would be falling short to up to 21% in the year 2027-28. Another important thing is the views that were gotten from Kenyans across the country, especially from employers and goodwill Kenyans who are saying that the quality of our education was suffering in terms of the students who are coming from the universities, because the universities did not have the infrastructure, do not have we all know the pending bills that have been there. We are talking about 75 million. University staff, you've been seeing them going on strike several times. It's only maybe the last financial year where you didn't see them going on strike. Employers have been also complaining that once they get graduates, the first thing they have to do is train them. So the whole sector, there were issues that needed to be looked into. And that is why the Presidential Working Party proposed that we review and come up with a new funding model to look at basically the quality of education and also sustainability of our universities.
Of accessing.
Yes.
Let me take you back to a bit to the differentiated unit cost
Yes.
that was there before. When you said that the government was to pay 80%, was it 80% per student or 80% per university? What 80% for what?
80% of the student costs of each program. Therefore, what it means is that if you are in undertaking, let's say, BA, it was costed at 144,000, so the government was supposed to pay 80% of that. If you are doing undertaking, let's say...
Who costed it?
The universities.
So each university had a cost for its programs?
No. All the universities came together.
Okay.
A committee was set up. This committee was headed by Professor Aduol, who was the Vice Chancellor of Technical University of Kenya. They looked at the different aspects of costing a program. So they looked at all their programs, and in consensus agreed that, for example, medicine costs 720 and
per year.
Yeah, per year. And they cost because of the requirement of that costs of that program. What do you require? All these things were put in place, and the cost of the staff. So this was an initiative, and that is how it is done world over, that you must be able to know how much a program costs so that you can be able to charge for that program.
Okay.
Yes.
So if, for example, the University of Nairobi admitted a student for a medicine course, it would cost 720,000 per year. And from the differentiated unit cost, the government was to put 80% of this, and the student to get 20% either through HELB or from household.
Yes.
And so this is how now the UON would receive its funding.
Yes.
Okay. So what's different now?
Now, what is different now is that we have moved from funding the university in that model to funding the universities or the students. From funding the university, we are now funding the students. This is a student-centered model, whereby we look at the level of need of a student. Because one thing we realize is that at that point, provided you are admitted by government through COOPS, then you are all funded at the same level, depending on the program that you have undertaken. We moved from that because we realized that all the students are not the same. There are students who are able to pay. There are students who drive to school from home. There are students who stay in the high-cost hostels and can be able to drive, and we've seen them. And these are students who comes from our villages where we grew up and cannot be able to afford. So those disparities are what we are looking into to ensure that the most needy students are supported more, so that the ones who can be able to support themselves can support themselves, because we realize that we do not have all the funds that can support all the students that have been admitted to the university. So this new model is based on the level of need, and it is a student-centered model.
We have private universities in this country, and people pay. There was a time we had a different model at the university where the university offered what I'm going to refer to as Ngumbaru, but the understanding was that that process was to help the university raise funds. People who are working come and study. So the understanding that the university requires funding simply beyond what the government gives it, it's something that has been with us for quite some time. And that private universities exist and parents pay tells us that many parents are actually able to pay. But the problem comes now with public universities. The thinking seems to be, since it's public university, the education should be more or less free, meaning parents should pay as little as possible. Now, everything you said, the thinking behind it makes sense. Because at the time some of us went to university, something we call boom.
Yes.
We used to receive. And it was very adequate. People got married with boom. People paid fees for their siblings. People paid fees. They even sent money home. Are you saying that those who plan and those who were able to understand that the country needed more universities did not see that where we are now would be arrived at? Because we started from the University of Nairobi. Kenyatta University was a constituent college of the University of Nairobi. Other universities came about. It was clear. Our population, we could see the trajectory. Those who left Standard 7, those who left Form 4, we could actually see it. So now, here we are, and we've got this model. 3 questions. 1, What steps were taken to ensure that beyond presenting the new model, processes were undertaken to ensure people actually understand it? 1, 2. The process by which we were told yesterday, there's something called a means testing instrument. Okay? Doesn't the government have sufficient information about students from the time they were in primary school, secondary school, about their ability or inability to be able to actually afford? If your parent couldn't afford to pay your fees in Form 4, it means if you're in university, they still will not be able to pay the fees. I ask this because, and thirdly, if these things have been considered, what is the process by which all this will be communicated? Because if something is lost in communication, even if what we have is a good thing, it will take a bashing it does not need. And there'll be people calling for disbanding it even before it has actually begun. And yet, what you've said, and I take you at your word, is something that should have been done quite a while back. So, my 3 questions.
Let me go step by step. If I miss any, you'll go back and tell me that this one you need to clarify.
Yes.
So that we can make progress. I think, and very valid, number one on the universities, the growth of the universities. If you look at the Universities Act of 2012, actually the legislation says that each county should have a university. And that is where some of these problems start from. It says that each county should have a university. Now, should have. It is there that we should have each, and that's where you see across the country, everyone is asking for a university. Now, that legislation came into place already when some other counties had 2, 3 universities. So, and that you cannot be able to reverse. For me, having universities is a good thing. However, we must be able to adequately ensure that we can be able to support these universities. Maybe we needed to rethink and see how do we grow these universities or ensure that the current ones that we have, we can be able to support them adequately before we have new universities. Because that is the only way we can ensure that the quality of education is there. Because right now, the capacity that we have outstrips the students that are coming from high school. And that is why we have got the challenge that we have, that the universities are having financial problems also because they have adequate capacity.
They have excess capacity.
Yes, and the students are not there.
Okay.
If you go back, you look at an issue like the transition rate. In Kenya now, we are talking about 21% transition rate from secondary school to university. My own personal view is that is still quite low. If you go to Japan and Europe, we are talking about 60-70%. Where those students will go, we should not worry about it because you would rather have people who have gone to university than have a population of students who have not gone to school or university. So we'll rather have them even plus TVET, and then they can be able to create their own employment. And anyway, we are not creating human capital for Kenya alone. We are creating human capital for the world. I know sometimes people say that people should get employment, government should be able. Government's work is not to give you employment, it's to provide the climate for you to create employment.
For you to get yourself a job.
On the second issue of MTI, the means testing instrument is a tool that has been used by HELB for the past 25 years to get the needs of, to know the level of need. This tool looks at the component of the family income, family size. It looks at persons, the marginalized, the people from marginalized areas. And it also looks at, I've talked about income.
So family size, family income,
family
marginalization.
Income, marginalization. And the cost of the program is also put there. So that is what the MTI looks at. The MTI depends on the information that you supply as a student. And then that information is subjected to validation by the funding agencies. So that validation is done through, for example, KRA, where if you supply any information, then with an API, we are able to check how much you have paid as taxes and how much you are able to earn during the last financial year. And that is how the MTI works. If you are not in KRA, there are other validators. For example, if you say that you are a person with living with disabilities, there is an API with the national body with the disabilities. The number that you give there will be checked, and that will be able to give you adequate marks to be able to give you the loan that you require. If, for example, you are in NHIF and we notice that you are paying a certain amount in NHIF, which means your salary band is within a certain range. Even if you declared something else, then that gives us an indication that you did not give the correct information. So these validators are the ones that validate what you have given. So the first information or the first requirement is given to the student, or you are given the right to give us the right information. Then that information is then validated. However, being Kenya where we are, we notice that that information still has a lot of challenges, and that's where we go up and down, because as you rightly say, many Kenyans are able to pay fees in secondary school. When it reaches university, when they know there's money to be given, many have declared that they are not able to pay. And when you look at the way the forms have been filled, there's a trend that we noticed. If you go to a certain area, let's say where I come from, most of the forms will be filled in the same way, because these people take to the bureau. The bureau has got a form which they now use to fill, and when you analyze later, you realize everyone earns the same amount. And so these are some of the challenges we are facing. So, and there is no way everyone can be, for example, a single parent in one area. Everyone can be able to earn the same amount. The good thing where we are going as a country, and people don't realize that with the technology, it is very easy to find out.
There's a lot more information that you can get with technology.
Yes.
I want to take a break, and then when we come back, we get deeper into this. First of all, explain the different funding bands, and then that instrument, take us through it clearly and slowly, because I think that's where the issues are.
Yes.
People who feel that they deserve to be in a certain band feel that they have, wrongly been placed in another one. People who then look at their colleagues who are their brothers who are in third year, fourth year, and how much they're getting from HELB. And then you're saying that I'm only going to get 30% from HELB, and then I'm going to now start paying 40% out of household. You start wondering, how do I start paying 40% from household, yet my brother or my sister is not paying that? You'll have to explain those ones, because those are the issues that are emerging as areas that need to be clarified. All right? Our guest this morning is Geoffrey Monari. Geoffrey is the CEO of the Universities Fund. This is the body that is responsible for taking all this money from the government, putting it together, scholarship, and sending money to universities for students. So when now we say that students are getting scholarships at a university, the person who is responsible for processing that is sitting here as our guest, and he has got to explain this new universities funding model and how it's working. Keep it here, we'll be back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you.
Listen, each and every Saturday right here, pure entertainment, no vibe.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Straight Up Show.
That if you're watching from home, weka kiti kando jamani. It's about time.
Show ni namba wana kuna nyingine
We're standing out in any Joe that we made it this far. Listen,
You already know, they call me Joe the Best, and Joe the Best always remain to be my name.
Lord. So remember each and every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Likubwa sana. Ndani ya KZ at home.
This week on Let's Be Real, we look at the politics or politics and the Kenyan question, who is fooling who?
It's a mental health crisis as a young doctor in his prime jumps off a building 8 floors.
A passenger was kicked out of an airplane. Shame on you. We need to bring back shame into our society. Some women are spending all their savings on just a wedding. All those interesting and heavy topics this Sunday at 10 p.m. on KTN Home.
Get inspired by Afrimax. A continent bursting with creativity. Meet artists, designers, and cultural icons. Discover African lifestyle and culture as diverse and exciting as the continent itself. This is Afrimax.
You're looking to understand the constantly evolving sector, buy a dream home or investment, then you can confidently make an appointment with me every Sunday for fresh insights in this dynamic sector.
The buyer's market is working very well. They have demonstrated a lot of confidence in us. The rental market is also working very well. So I would say we'll continue doing this.
All right, the CEO of the Universities Fund, Geoffrey Monari, is still our guest here. So, Geoffrey, the students yesterday that we hosted yesterday told us that there are 5 bands that you've categorized in how you support them. So there's the band that is classified as vulnerable, right? Or is it extremely needy?
We left classifying them that way because it is.
So now it's band 1, band 2.
Yes,
but
yes. I don't think it's the right way to say that this is person is vulnerable because that is not permanent.
So you want to call them number 1?
You are in band 1 for now because your circumstances can be able to change.
Okay.
That is why we moved from tagging somebody as a certain class. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
Yes.
So band 1.
Yes.
Band 1
yes.
would get 70% of the university fee for their course.
Yes.
From the university's fund as scholarship.
Yes.
Which is money that you will not be asked to repay.
Yes.
And then you will get Higher Education Loans Board up to 25%, not up to, but no, 25%.
25%.
And then 5% will be expected to come from household.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And then there's band 2, where it's 60% of scholarship, 30% help, 10% out of pocket.
Yes.
Band 3, 50% scholarship. All of them is 30% now.
Yeah,
help.
for loan, and then you
and
reduce.
then 20% now out of pocket.
Yes.
So as you reduce again band 4, where you pay 40%, you get 40% scholarship, 30% help, 30% household, and the band 5 is 30% scholarship, 30% help, 40% from pocket. So everybody gets a scholarship.
Yes.
From 70% coming down to 30%.
Yes.
Everybody gets help.
Yes.
30%, but band 1 get a 25%
yes
help. And then now everybody pays out of pocket.
Everyone pays out of but remember also there's upkeep loan which you get at 60,000 band 1, 55,000 coming down, 50, 45, and then 40.
Yes.
Is the lowest upkeep allowance that goes to direct to the student's pocket.
And it's a loan as well.
And that is also a loan. Also, what is important we can move away from the bands and look at the actual figures.
Okay.
Because people have been saying that this thing is expensive. And I want to take you through the actual figures.
Okay.
Let's go to, for example, BA.
Okay.
And this is the average cost because, as I told you, the public universities are accepted. The BA costs 122,400.
Okay.
You get a scholarship. If you're in band 1, you get a scholarship of 85,680. That one you'll never pay. Then you get a loan of 30,600. Then you'll get an upkeep of 60,000. The household will pay 5%, which is 6,000 shillings, 120
per year.
Per year, which you can pay twice. That is about 3,000 shillings. Now,
that's for band 1.
That is for band 1.
Okay.
Which means a student can even use their upkeep
to pay
for the household contribution. They don't need to even ask their parents for any money. If you go to, I'm moving averagely now to the other courses, B.Ed Arts.
Let's go to where are most students likely to find themselves in? Is it band 3, band 4, band 5?
Before I go there, let me just go to BA Arts because that's where the numbers are.
Okay.
BA Arts, most students want to do either BA Arts, BA Science. BA Science, which is higher than BA Arts, is at 244,800. You'll get a scholarship of 171,360, and then a tuition loan. That is a loan of 61,200. And then upkeep of 60,000. The amount the family household is only 12,240.
Okay.
If I take you back to the old model, tuition was 6,000. On top of that, students were expected to pay some other charges, computer fees, all those things have been removed. Total amount on average per student was 50,000 to 60, depending on the university. And that's why we say that...
So 50 to 60,000
yes,
was what household was paying. Okay, let's say they're still paying. Those in...
Yes, those in third, fourth years.
Okay.
That is the amount they are still paying. That is why I'm saying that this model is better than the previous one.
So actually, now that you've done very well. So let's compare third year, fourth year taking BA Science.
Yes.
And first year taking BA Science.
Yes.
Okay. How much is the parent of a third year BA Science paying today to the University of Nairobi? Ile pesa najua mimi nalipa school fees.
You atalipa 60,000.
60,000 per
yes,
year.
Actually, University of Nairobi is about 60 to 70,000, but let's take 60,000.
Okay.
Yes.
So 60,000 is what they're currently paying.
Yes, and all of them will pay 60,000, irrespective of whether you come from a rich family or a poor family.
Okay.
All of them is 60,000.
But now with with this funding model,
yes,
how much is a student going to pay out of pocket for the same course in the same university course, in first year?
Is 12,200.
12,240.
That is the most vulnerable.
Okay.
If we go to the case of
if someone is in band 5,
if he's in band 5, this person will pay 73,000.
Okay.
Yes.
So now it moves from 60 to someone finding themselves having to pay 73,000.
That is the rich. This guy is driving to school.
Okay.
Yes. And I'll give you the numbers because
so now let's come to the other question.
Yes.
Where is the majority? Which band carries the majority of students that you're funding?
The majority of the students are in band 4.
Okay.
And these students are this last year they were 42%. These are 46,852 students. And if you were to look at how much they would pay, they will pay 55,000.
From 60?
From 60, they are paying less.
They'll now pay 55,000. And the HELB loan will be how much?
HELB loan here will be 55,000 also. Because remember it is 30-30.
Okay.
Yes.
So 55K will be HELB loan.
55. And remember they have an upkeep.
55K will be out of pocket. And upkeep for this person is?
45,000.
It's 45,000.
Yes.
And then the scholarship amount?
We are giving a scholarship of 73,440.
Okay.
Free money.
Okay. This is the first year taking BA Sciences.
Yes.
We give an example, the University of Nairobi.
Yes.
Form 3, not Form 3.
Year 3.
Year 3, third year BA Sciences, who is not now in this university's funding model.
Yes.
Take me through each. So they are paying 60,000 out of pocket.
They will pay 60,000 out of pocket.
Okay.
The government is giving a grant. Remember, we're also still giving that grant at 48%.
Okay.
In fact, it has gone lower to about 38 now this year. That is free money, and over an average of about, it is going to about 86,000. And then there's an upkeep amount. That is the one from HELP. This student will get an upkeep, which is everything. They'll get an upkeep of about 45,000.
45,000?
Yes.
Is there any help to pay for tuition?
Yes. Out of the 45,000, 8,000 is removed to go and pay tuition. Remember, tuition ideally still remains at 16,000. Remember I said, but the universities have added some other fees. It comes to a higher amount because this model capped, they cannot charge any other amounts.
Why did you cap it at 8,000?
That was the previous model. It was because fees was at 16,000.
Okay.
So the HELP loan was supposed to give 8,000.
50% of that?
Yes, and then the household looks for another 50%.
I'm still asking the question. 16,000. Why did you cap it at 16? What does it represent?
At that time, the model was that all programs were costed at 120,000.
Which was not the right way of doing this thing, was it?
Yes. That is all programs, whether you are doing medicine or BA, in 1990, all programs were costed at 120,000.
Okay, now we are in 2024.
Yes.
How much is it going to cost?
It depends on the program cost.
Very good.
Yes.
What's the most expensive course?
Medicine.
How much will it cost?
Medicine is now costing at 612. 612.
This has to be 1,000 shillings, not shillings.
Per year.
Per year.
600,000 shillings.
612,000 shillings.
Yes.
612,000.
Because 612, I'm saying that's very affordable.
So
612,000 shillings. And I want to give you a perspective.
I want to pick where the complaints could be coming from. So please walk with me.
Yes.
Just, if you indulge me.
Yes.
So we've looked at BA Science.
Yes.
Which you've said is common and it has many students.
Yes.
Let's go into medicine.
Yes.
Okay. Now
Yes.
the most expensive.
Yes.
Let's compare those two. Let's compare fifth year medicine are going up to 6. So let's compare fifth year medicine student and first year medicine student. Let's start with the fifth year. How much are they currently?
They are paying the same amount.
They are getting the same.
The same.
45,000.
Yes.
Which will be coming from HELP.
If it's that band,
and from there, 8,000 will go into tuition.
Yes.
The rest will they remain with.
Yes.
And then they pay 60,000 out of pocket.
Yes.
And then the others will be sorted. Now, how much will they, depending on where the majority are?
Yes.
How much is the new university's fund dishing out?
For medicine, in band 4, where the majority are, and remember, medicine, we only have 623 students across the country who are admitted through government. Those are the declared positions. University of Nairobi has got, I think, 30 students. But a student in that band 4, where majority are, will get a scholarship of 244,800. You will get a loan of 183,600 and get an upkeep of 45. Still remains the same, and the household is expected to give 183,600.
Hapo sasa ndio kizungu imeingia.
Yes.
Tena imeingia vizuri sana.
Si ndio hiyo? Because now this is where the issues are coming in, that somebody who has previously only been paying.
Yes.
I have a child in third year, in fourth year, in fifth year taking medicine, and I'm paying 60,000 shillings. The sibling has been admitted to take the same course of medicine, and I've been brought 183,000 shillings. So now the issue here is the lack of awareness of how we get here.
Yeah, but let me say, you are not being given 183 because you because you can afford to pay 183. That, I think we need to agree on that. It's because you have come, maybe you were in Kabarak or you were in Riara High School, girls, and we saw that you were paying 300,000 every term.
Yeah.
That is why we are asking you to pay 183
per year.
Per year. If you were not able to pay and you were in, for example, Nyakongo High School, where I come from, then we'll ask you to pay the first band of 30,600.
For the same course?
Yes. For the same course, there's a student who will pay 30,600 per year. But you who was in Pioneer High, Riara
Pioneer
or
is not
Kabarak,
band 4. I'm sure you're going to put that person in band 5.
band 5 maybe.
Which is now going to be 200,000.
Yes, which is going to... Now, that is what we are saying. People should not pay the same. Number 2, the 16,000 we were talking about. I was doing calculations when I was coming here. Because I know you're going to ask me tough questions. 16,000 in 1990, equivalent to that amount today, is 532,000 Kenya shillings. And this you can be able to check online, because I checked when I was coming here. So ideally, if we were to maintain the same 16,000, we would be charging students 532,000 Kenya shillings, if you look at the economic aspect of this. However, these students are now paying less. So the government is actually absorbing more. As a country, what this model tells us, we were living a lie.
Yeah, for a
in
long time.
terms of funding university education for a very long time.
Yes.
The reality is that we must face, and education is not cheap. Education is not cheap. We must, as a country, be able to support those who can not be able to pay as much as possible, and those who are able to pay. My humble request is that let them continue paying the way they have been paying.
You know, I find it interesting. Huh?
Yes.
This reality that we seem to have run away from when it comes to university education, it's something we understood very well in primary and secondary schools.
Yes. I agree with you. Today, after KCSE, for example, this year,
yes,
if you ask parents that there is a good school that you can be able to, you are asked to pay 200,000, the same parents who are not able to pay now will say they can pay because they want their child to go to that very good school.
And to go to university.
And to go to university.
Where it will be free.
Where it will be free.
You know, I hope it is understood that this is a message that has to keep being transmitted, explained. Because, as you say correctly, there are many who are loath. This idea of paying a certain amount, beyond a certain amount, the head just jams. It can't conceptualize. And yet the other things that some parents will pay for. The understanding that brought about this particular matrix must have loopholes. What are the loopholes? There is no plan that doesn't have loopholes.
If there are loopholes, the city, I'm sealing them. I will not want to give you what loopholes are there.
Not loopholes of leaking.
Yes.
It's just, what are the downsides to it?
Yes.
There's positive, and then there are...
And the positives are clear.
Okay, but
I think the negatives that we are drawing from here is that our messaging has not been quite clear.
Why?
Because we are struggling to be able to penetrate to the people in the villages. And this happens because, unfortunately, the most poor people do not want to say they are poor. They are ashamed to say they are poor. Even when they are filling these forms, it's a very unfortunate situation. They don't want to show their poverty from their household.
Okay. And those who have money?
Who have money
do not want to say.
To show they are poor.
They want to show they are poor. It's vice versa.
But I disagree on the poor people not wanting to. Monari, we see clips here. In January, we go into depression because we see very many cases of children not able to report to Form 1 because of school fees. We see dehumanizing people, queuing, and an MP saying, "Come on, pangirangi sikupati basari."
Sleeping overnight in the cold.
Sleeping, waiting for bursary. Those people are not ashamed of what they're doing. They're feeling dehumanized. They're losing their dignity, but they know what it costs. I have to take my child to school. They go, they queue at the bursary, they queue at CDF, they go to Equity Wings to Fly, they queue,
They go everywhere.
ACB, they queue, they are queuing. They're saying, please help me take my child to school. So the poor are not afraid to say that I cannot afford. No.
But
if you're not
let
able
me
to,
ask-
if
let
you're
me
not
ask.
able to reach them, and we see them here every year, January is coming.
I ask you,
yes.
I just want to ask you, what makes you think that the people queuing
Are they genuine poor
are the
people?
genuine poor people? Because it doesn't mean that if I am going to queue, I am the most poor. The most poor sometimes may not even make it there, because you've not even eaten, you don't have that energy to go there. So I agree with you halfway that there are people who generally queue for, so that they can be able to get, but it doesn't mean that somebody who takes their time to queue, some of them is because they are used to free things. What we need to do is to ensure that we get to identify these poor people using a means which will not dehumanize them.
Bwana Monari,
Yes.
do you know why the love sitter came from?
No.
A love sitter.
Yes, a love sitter.
Your campaign.
Do you know where it came from? A bit of statistics did their magic, and they figured that the poorest of the poor in this country live on 6,000 shillings a month.
Yes.
Okay? Now, we do have data of people who receive government bailout because they're in that. We know. Can you bit of statistics? It's a pity people don't actually consume their products. They go into very enormous details of many of these things. So we do know people who are poor. It's not that we don't know. Our primary schools tell us there's information, because many primary schools are in the rural areas. And so people know each other. We know so and so, we know this. It is known. Secondary school, the same. I was telling you when I was chairman of a board of management of a school in the village. So you know, when someone tells you doesn't have money, you just tell him, when headmaster, let me talk to that person.
Yes.
Because you know the person chief, go and pay the money. You know very well you have the money. What are we saying? We are saying, much as there may be loopholes, the question is, have we explored and exploited all the avenues that clearly tell us who it is among our citizenry who need help? Because they exist and we know.
We are actually working on that. I can tell you that the ministry has put in place various teams to be able to see how we can be able to perfect us establishing the people who are most poor. We are actually now even consuming KNBS data. Part of the MTI this year checks where you are coming from, the poverty index of that area. For example, if you are coming from Ndihia, if it shows it's the most poor, then we look at that person more favorably, because we know in that area the poverty
people are predominantly poor.
Yes. But however,
How will you
not,
know that I come from there?
Because when you fill the form, you indicate where you come from.
And how will you know that I actually
come from there?
Because you attach your ID and it shows where you come from.
I moved one. I got my ID here.
But that's why I said we also have validators, because there are people who can come from D here, but they are well off. So that will be the first line. If we don't find you, for example, in KRA, NHIF, then it validates that you have no source of income which is can be established.
Not necessarily.
Yes.
But then I think this is where the issue is, Geoffrey, that there are very many people who feel that they belong maybe to band 2, but they've been placed in band 4. And just by going there, the cost for them has moved up by like 40,000. And that is what they were not able to pay in Form 4 when they were sitting their exam.
Eric,
they get into that disadvantage. Because what you're able to do very well with your science is you're going to be able to capture the band 5. Because the band 5, the one who was able, this is the school they went to, so most likely they have an income that is recorded that will attach to KRA, that will attach to NSSF, that will attach into this other, that will attach into the other. The one who's vulnerable will not feature in any of these platforms.
They're almost invisible, some of them. Beyond the ID, you know very little about them.
And then they don't know how to fill out the form, so they went to the bureau guy. The bureau guy just filled out the same way they filled for the other guy. So the person who should be in band 1 has been pushed into band 3. and they get disadvantaged.
No,
you have to think of the most vulnerable and how to identify first, not the richest so that you can punish them and bring them down, paying school fees, but the one who does not afford, and make sure that they don't miss out on education.
No, there is always room for improvement, and we are taking.
That's not a room, but that's a whole house.
However, let me explain. let me explain. If a student is placed in a band which they believe should not be there is an appeal process. Last year we got 9,800 appeals, and out of that we successfully moved 4,000 students in various bands. I know there are people who moved from band 4, 500 of them, 574 to band 1, because initially they were not placed in the right band. So this process is interactive, and we are open to be able to get new ideas and see how we can be able. Our aim is not to punish people. Every day we want to place people in the right band so that you are able to support yourself, or the government is able to support yourself based on your level of need. Let us remember, it is based on the level of need. We are not all equal.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of awareness creation is needed, and we thank you for coming first today to clarify on this. We'll invite you again and again and again until everybody gets to understand. And then you also get to hear questions from people telling you their practical cases.
Thank you.
Geoffrey Monari is the CEO of the Universities Fund. He's been our guest. 9 a.m. time for the news.